Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on Not Explains. Today we're going to see how to beat the indestructible giant in the movie Troll. Let's hop in and see how to beat...
If a 300-foot tall folk monster was rampaging its way across the country on a
Let's see how to beat it.
mission of vengeance, what would you do? This earthen
Oh,
abomination walked straight out of a fairy tale, and he's got a bone to pick with the people that wiped out his family. Sure, they've all been dead for hundreds of years, but he's not gonna stop until he's made sure of it. One thing's for sure, we'd better find his weakness before Oslo's wiped off the map. Although, it might not even be the...
Did that thing have a freaking tail? Hold on.
His weakness before Oslo's wiped...
That thing has a tail! Okay, that is... I'm not expecting. I wasn't expecting that at all. Okay.
Off the map. Although, it might not even be the creature that does it. I'm gonna break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the troll in Troll. It's just another day in paradise for the men and women building the Dover Railroad. The roar of machinery, inhaling dust with every breath, and the screeching of eco-geeks rallying against the steady march of human expansion. Must be nice, having enough free time to stand around screaming all day while the people building the world around you work their fingers to the bone. In times like these, it's the little things that make it all worth it, like clacking off a huge pile of explosives and watching the look of sadness and horror on the bleeding hearts' faces. Strange. I think I just heard something echo out of the tunnel during the blast. It sounded like, get a job. Alright, fun's over. Time to rock and stone. Hang on, what's that groaning sound? People. Did someone just grab an egg? Ah, I sure hope everyone's beneficiaries are up to date.
Everybody out! Oh, crap.
Maybe they should have listened to the rock huggers after all. Nah, let's be real. No one's gonna do that. What I really don't get is why they wouldn't try to pile back in the pickup truck and go for the warthog run. The tunnel is long enough that you felt the need to drive in. So what exactly makes you think you'll be able to make it out on foot without getting pulverized?
I mean,
for half a million years,
so why not take vehicles out? Oh, damn it. Hold on, folks. Turns out that cover was perfectly timed because we had just gotten an ad for Raid Shadow Legends. Now we continue.
Meanwhile, back in Oslo, something about this tragedy has gotten the attention of the Ministry of Defense, prompting them to scramble a recon sortie to take a closer look at the situation. Wait, are you really breaking out the F-35s for this? Classic government spending. Why use inexpensive drones or helicopters, or even a Cessna, when you can shell out $5,000 a minute sending Maverick and Goose to snap a few Polaroids? Let's see here. Looks like we got a big hole in the ground. Excellent work, boys. Mission accomplished. Better alert the Prime Minister about this. Not because...
Oh, an actual ad. Let's go.
...of innocent people were just obliterated and or trapped under a mountain, of course. Don't even bother mentioning that. We're just looking for her expert opinion on the matter.
Oh my god. Looks like it could be a meteor crater.
Your Prime Minister, everybody. Clearly the well-informed leader Norway needs in this time of crisis. Then again, it's hardly a shocker that the world leader would be an imbecile. Probably the most realistic thing about this movie. However, it turns out the Devil's Gullet isn't the only thing this multi-million-dollar flyover turned up. There appears to be a pair of giant footprints leading away from the side of the cave-in. At least according to the PM's milquetoast little lapdog, or, you know, anyone with working eyeballs. Don't be silly, dude. There's no time to go forming your own opinions based on concrete information staring you right in the face. What we really need to do is round up a bunch of eggheads to explain this phenomenon in ways that justifies additional grant funding, which brings us to the plucky heroine of this colossal show. Elsewhere, Nora Tideman and team are in the process of celebrating their latest addition to the fossil record, when a few soldiers and a Huey swoop in to ferry her off to the Brain Trust. Not sure why they'd be bringing in a paleontologist when whatever this thing is already dug itself up and walked away, but screw it. Blank check, remember? While we're at it, let's grab a botanist and a couple astronomers and fly them in on an SR-71. Oh, well, I'm sure she'll be the one to crack this mystery wide open. You know, once she's done complaining.
Dude, you dragged me out here from a project I spent years financing and planning, yeah? I didn't eat anything and I'm exhausted, which is a really awful combination.
Okay, chill out, She-Hulk. You think they brought you to a war room in a secret underground bunker to watch Jurassic Park? Obviously, what we're dealing with here is serious shit of the highest magnitude.
Hold on.
So maybe stop machine gunning the messenger and just appreciate the fact that they actually place value on your knowledge of dinosaurs.
I study fossils. Dinosaurs have been extinct for 65 million years. So.
Yeah. Fossils,
Wow.
so, you know.
Thanks, Doc. Aren't you just a joy to be around? I'm totally rooting for you and not a giant cryptid about to carve its way through Scandinavia. You realize you are wearing a shirt that says, I dig dinos on it, right? I can't rip on her too much, though, because while the neckbeards are busy pinning this all on swamp gas and weather balloons, she's the only one that looks at the photographs and sees footprints, which is exactly what they are. I mean, good God, is everyone else in here on spray paint? All the rest of these so-called scientists should be taken out and horsewhipped for not immediately making that observation. Oh, but you just know they're gonna call it preposterous. Actually, there's no animals that big, so therefore they must be a series of identical sinkholes separated at fixed intervals. Fortunately, before she's forced to address this stupidity, one of the defense worker people comes barging in with rock-solid evidence. As we all know, the most important part of protesting is posting videos of it on social media. And it just so happens one of the activists was in the middle of this when the collapse occurred, giving us a front row seat to her and her friends getting absolutely wrecked by falling debris.
Stop.
That person's dead. And dead.
I don't know. Might just be a smudge on the lens. Wait, so you mean to tell me that neither of the fighter jets that arrived on the scene within minutes spotted the literal giant the size of an upright warship lumbering away from the crater? Awesome. Just your tax dollars at work. It's a good thing Miss Instaclout was more concerned about filming the eruption than running for her life. Pinky swear we totally won't let her sacrifice be in vain. Following the Mensa meeting, Lapdog informs Nora she's been made scientific advisor to the PM. Yeah, don't get too excited for her. This is pretty much like when President Camacho did the same for Not Sure. You're not a genius, you're just the smartest idiot. For her first assignment, she's been sent to investigate the site of where King Kong smooshed some old couple's home for, like, no reason. For real, there's literally nothing around in every direction. Once on the ground, she meets up with Captain Chris Holmes, who brings her up to speed on the situation, cause all this really needs an explanation. Unfortunately, beside it making sad whale noises while tearing the crap out of their house, the homeowners can't provide any real information on the creature that did this. There's no trace of any biological material inside any of the footprints. What they do find, however, is some kind of pungent smell lingering in the area. According to Nora, it's...
Oh, damn it. Yeah, I'll probably have to do this multiple times throughout the video, so I'm just gonna go ahead and apologize, folks. Be back in a minute. We got more. Let's go.
Sort of smells like nature. Only more than that. Man, if only there was a word to describe this.
Stink?
Hypernature.
Hypernature.
What
of course.
the fuck?
Jesus Christ. If she's really the smartest person in Norway, it is not looking good. With the addition of Captain Holmes to their party for reasons, Commander Shepard and company set out to study the area where the giant footprints suddenly disappeared. Oh, camouflage, she writes in her notebook. Well, unless it somehow camouflaged itself down about 1,000 tons, we'd still be seeing the footprints, wouldn't we? Otherwise, it would still have to be right there. So let's go check it out. Wait, on second thought, let's not. Instead, I say we have Captain Boyfriend over here ask his buddies to work this place over with the 155s until it looks like Verdun. After all, it was an explosion that got this thing moving in the first place, right? Having reached a dead end, Nora begrudgingly admits they need to bring in an expert, and luckily, she knows just the guy. A brief chopper ride later, they arrive at a rundown shack in the middle of nowhere, only to be met by a wide-eyed old hermit with a coach gun and no pants. The surprises keep coming, however. As it turns out, No Bark Noonan here is actually Nora's father. Although, apparently there's a bit of estrangement involved here. I can't imagine why.
Why were we never taught that trolls actually exist?
Tobias, didn't I just tell you not to bring that up again?
Really? You're gonna go to the troll guy for help and then act all pissed off when he starts talking about
You go to the troll guy for help and then you get pissed off and talking about trolls. What the hell?
No, you're right. It's just too far-fetched. What we have here is a Pacific Rim Jaeger and toe shoes using jump jet.
Oh, whoop, hold on.
jets. Although, it did come out of a mountain, and there is no burn marks on the ground. With Jaegers off the list, this really only leaves trolls. God, why does everybody have to cling to the whole it can't possibly be shtick? Zombies? That's ridiculous. Millions of people must have all ate pounds of Dr. Teal's Epsom salts at the same time. Did you not see the swimming pool-sized footprints going on for miles? What about the footage of what can only be described as a massive humanoid creature rising from dormancy beneath a mountain? He isn't asking you to believe these things turn to stone in sunlight or smell the blood of Christians, you know, yet. But with all the other explanations out the window, isn't it possible that some of the folklore might have been based around a modicum of truth? Despite Tobias's troll trutherism still forming a wedge in his relationship with Nora, he eagerly invites himself along for the ride, and the gang dusts off to revisit the spot where the tracks left off. Much to his daughter's embarrassment, the old man's methods prove a bit unorthodox, and his constant use of the T-word is giving her a massive flare-up of everyone's favorite character flaw. What, you didn't think I was just gonna ignore her unresolved daddy issues? That will almost certainly affect her decision-making throughout this entire ordeal. Did you?
Most
just
likely,
then, Nora notices that smell again. You know,
Hypernature.
Hypernature?
yes, hypernature.
Even the dad's like,
only
the
this
hell
time
are you
it's
talking
coming
about?
straight from the source.
Oh my god.
Yikes. Imagine alienating yourself from your father,
Now
and
that
then
is
scolding him like a
terrifying.
child in front of complete strangers, only to come face to face with 30 stories of, I told you so. Sure, he's not exactly the most grounded of individuals, but Nora's not exactly one to talk. After all, the rest of you must be out of your minds to actually get out and walk around at the end of the bunny trail like that. What, do you think this thing just wiggled its nose and teleported back to Narnia or whatever? In fact, the
hey, we
entire
don't know what
Ministry
these
of
things are
Defense would have to
capable
be
of.
insane not
It's
to
a giant
immediately
stone
glimpse the
human.
house when they saw where that sidewalk ends. Oh, that's right. They're still thinking it might be some kind of high school prank. In that case, it's a good thing we were able to get airborne before the big fugly giant gobbled us up like raisinets. Otherwise, this thing would probably be standing right on top of them before they managed to pull their collective heads out. Now that we've finally tracked the creature down, we can't let this opportunity go to waste. Instead,
Oh, damn it. Here we go again. Let's keep going. Sorry about all the cuts.
booking it back to base after a 10-second Zoom call, we should loiter around outside his reach until the military can establish a 24/7 elephant walk of RQ-20 Puma surveillance drones to monitor its every move. From there, the primary goal is containment. As long as we can keep the troll down in this ravine, we don't have to worry about collateral damage, and that goes for both him and us. Look, I'm no military strategist by any means, but at this point, I think we can justify rolling in a few of Norway's several dozen F-35As to see what the big boy's made out of. And with Dover only being about 150 miles away from a Norwegian airbase, we could have them out on the scene within minutes of leaving the runway. Since we don't have to worry about stealth, we can take full advantage of our jet's 4 internal and 6 external weapon stations to weigh them down with as many JDAMs and AGMs as possible. That said, I'd still kick things off by raking him head to toe with the GAU-22A rotary cannon, in case all it takes to put him down is a well-placed tungsten penetrator from a 25mm Apex round. If he's somehow still standing after all that, then a remote location would allow us to slap him with a few homegrown land attack cruise missiles without the risk of endangering human life or infrastructure. And before you start tapping away on the comments about how old a Trollface is a mythical being and could therefore be impervious to all our mortal devices, Papa Toby already mentioned that most of his kind were wiped out during the Christianization of Norway, which took place like a millennium ago. I mean, come on, what the heck could they have had back then that we don't have 10,000-fold of now? Ye old death ray? If it makes you feel better, we can...
Oh, add. Let's just go.
Spare a few minutes to draw crosses on our missiles or douse them all in holy water before the main event. One way or another, today the world becomes a little less magical. Or not. Because what do you think the MOD opts for upon seeing the giant lumbering biped with no means of ranged attack? Cue the obligatory boots on the ground debacle. I wonder how this is going to go. Oh, and just for fun, let's have the untrained civilians tag along. You know, the pathetic wimpy one. The MPD girl boss with daddy issues. And the semi-sane troll-pilled geriatric that hates humanity. Whoa, hold up. Isn't that against the rules?
Chris, please.
If you do come along, you have to lay low and follow my orders. Understand?
Well, she did ask nicely.
Whatever.
Great. Can't wait to see how many brave soldiers are sacrificed to save a bunch of stupid randos after they get cut off.
It's not sunlight.
worry, you'll be dead
It's not
before
ultraviolet
sunrise.
light.
Ah yes, such refreshing pessimism. Can always count on Tobias for a truth bomb. Of course, once you see their half-baked battle plan, it becomes pretty clear the geezer might be onto something. So, you're facing down an unprecedented threat of unknown magnitude, and all you're willing to throw at it are 4 self-propelled guns some distance away, and a couple dozen grunts with all of 2 AT-4s to share between them, no air support, no main battle tanks, and not even a single CV-90 infantry fighting vehicle to work it over with a Bofors gun.
Why the hell
all
are they
going to
using planes and
die.
helicopters?
First off, you're springing the ambush by sending 2
Oh, damn it.
small teams right up to the troll to pop off with unguided shoulder-fired rockets, and judging by the blasts, I'm gonna say you went for the high explosive rounds instead of the high penetration, and then, when that fails, you light them up with indirect fire from the M109s, which you can't even do without nearly obliterating the retreating soldiers. Sure, the guns managed to keep them pinned down for a minute, but once they inevitably stop firing, you have nothing else to hit him with, which is why he's currently stomping you all to death like a bunch of stupid cockroaches.
Why
okay,
would you?
Let's rewind back to life for a second. The 4 guys that they sent in first must have just gotten caught with the general's daughter, because they were basically being sacrificed to the troll. Yes, the gun gooses they rode in on are awesome, and I want one. But what's the point of putting a bunch of squishy dudes with minimal firepower 50 yards away from this thing, when a sabot round from the main gun on one of Norway's 50-some-odd Leopard 2A4s can penetrate over 20 inches of rolled homogeneous armor from a mile away? With RHA being significantly harder to penetrate than the stone armor the troll's wearing, those APFS DS rounds shouldn't have any trouble poking through its skull and into its brain based on the perceived thickness around the eye. Norway's also got FGM 148 javelins, which can crack over 30 inches of RHA. Sure, the troll doesn't give off a heat signature, but you can direct fire the javelins at its head. If anything, we should have used the ATVs to lure him into a kill zone pre-sighted for artillery fire. Then once he's temporarily immobilized, we light him up from a distance with no fewer than a dozen main battle tanks and all the javelins they can muster until they run out of ammo. Like they say, you don't stop shooting until it hits the ground. At that point, if Big Chungus isn't leaking like a sieve, we should all GTFO and let the Flyboys handle it. You know, like we should have done in the first place.
Have the Flyboys
and that reminds me, just like the drillers in the beginning, why did everyone choose to disperse on foot when they could have easily jumped in their vehicles and driven away? Do you honestly think you're going to outrun something with legs the size of cell phone towers? Predictably, the GOAT Rodeo concludes with our heroes among the sole survivors, along with this guy. You better pray, dude. I can't even find your name in the credits. That said, I don't see this working out for anybody. Only one thing to do now. And sure enough, it seems our friend has caught a whiff of something tasty.
Hypernature.
No, not that. Evidently, the stories of trolls being able to smell the blood of Christians weren't as greatly exaggerated as we thought. Lucky for Team Nora, they figured this out in time to split before getting munched alongside Saint Nacho. Hey, man, I know getting eaten alive by a troll is scary and all, but if you're gonna go out anyway, the least you could do is blow up a couple of claymores inside his esophagus. If it works, the rest of us totally won't take credit for it.
Any grenades on you? Pull the pins and let him
instead of taking advantage of the man's death to escape with his friends, old Papa Toby decides that looked pretty cool and rushes in to get himself devoured too. Sadly, before he can get his wish, one of the last remaining soldiers starts popping off with a Ma Deuce, and it doesn't go well for either of them. Nice try, Audie Murphy. Did you sleep through the part where this freak show shrugged off multiple direct hits from a howitzer? As for Tobias, old man must have eaten his Wheaties this morning, because instead of being smeared across the grass like raspberry jam, he somehow manages to keep it together long enough to ramble incoherently for a few seconds. I don't know, something about a palace and a kingdom? Dude just broke every bone in his body. Nothing he says is probably going to make any sense at this point. That said, it might be worth checking in with the royal family in case they have any hidden troll knowledge. After all, the Norwegian monarchy's been around since 872 AD. If it's true that troll kind was eradicated around that time, it's possible the crown might have some kind of record on it. Following the dismal failure of their first attempt, the MOD is now planning to hit the troll with an airstrike, a full 12 hours after tossing dozens of perfectly good men into the the meat grinder with woefully insufficient firepower. However, upon hearing that the Norwegian government is about to make a half-decent decision for the first time since this nightmare first began, Nora immediately flips out and demands that they do something painfully stupid instead.
Oh my
Let's
god.
assume there's truth to the fairy tales.
Assume? You just witnessed this thing sniff out a man's religion. There is definitely some things the fairy tales got right. That said, this thing's also been walking around in broad daylight, so who knows which parts we're supposed to believe. Fact is, if Beowulf knew about Apache helicopters, he would have definitely wanted one. So how about we save the hopes and dreams for when we've exhausted all the conventional options that we can actually comprehend? Nah, screw it. Let's just run with the very first thing the paleontologist thinks of and put men's lives at risk, making it a reality. And just what is this surefire plan? Well, because the trolls in the fairy tales hated the sounds of church bells, Nora figures they can just strap a bunch of bells to helicopters and hover around the real deal, causing him to question mark. I might be willing to try this if the folklore said that this made them explode, but for all we know, it's just gonna send him into a murderous rage. Oh well, no time for follow-up questions. The birds are already in the air, and just in time to catch the Colossus as it stomps its way through yet another easily avoidable occupied structure. This time, it's some kind of weirdo troll-themed family fun park or something. Sure, everyone's a troll lover until a troll shows up. Just imagine seeing something like this lumbering in out of nowhere, only to have a bunch of government helicopters sweep in and start ringing bells at it. We're definitely not living in a simulation or anything. What's even crazier, however, is that it actually seems to be working. Then again, you try keeping your composure with 4 huge church bells ringing right next to your head. Either way, might be a good idea to fly a little bit higher. I mean, right now you're just barely outside his reach.
This is Hocus 1. We have to move closer.
Closer? What are you, drunk? The bells are clearly taking a toll on him from here. Moving closer is just going to make it easier for him to swat us out of the sky.
And there you go.
Just like that. That's pretty much how everyone should have seen this going from the start. I mean, come on. It's pretty obvious that a massive chunk of metal swinging back and forth on the skids of a helicopter is going to affect their ability to maneuver. If anything, we should have tried hitting him with an amplified recording of a church bell via LRAD. At least then we can maintain a safe distance. Frankly, I'm surprised it took the troll as long as it did to turn the tables. What's really shocking is the way Hugo catches one of the falling choppers before it straight up pancakes these two brainiacs down below. Let me guess, now we're supposed to believe he's really good guy Greg after watching him tromp through somebody's home and go crashing through a crowded park full of innocent bystanders. Speaking of which, you're probably wondering why the theme park hadn't already been evacuated. Well, that's because the Norwegian government didn't want to cause a panic. Yeah, looks like you got one. And now, since you didn't bother to warn the public about the giant man-eating beast marauding through the countryside, they're going to assume you've been lying to them about all sorts of other stuff as well. I mean, let's face it, you definitely have. But now it's gonna be a lot harder to maintain face. Wait, can we go back to the kid under the helicopter for a second? Why the fuck are you standing under a crashing helicopter?
Why did the troll
And what is your dad even doing? You left him standing out in the open under the MOD's inevitably catastrophic shit show of a troll raid, and now when he's about to get blended up, your bright idea is to throw your body on top of him. Like that will do anything. You picked the worst of the 3 options. The other 2 would be to 1, stand back and let Darwinian evolution burn out the dead brush, or 2, use nature's 5 scoops of pre-workout to pick his ass up and shove him out of harm's way. And I digress. The good news is that now that the cat's out of the bag, we might as well invoke Article 5 of NATO and have Uncle Sam come to the rescue to show us how to really spend money. Of course, that would also expand our toolbox to include the literal nuclear option, which might be worth considering with this thing just a few hours outside the capital. I'm thinking a good old-fashioned B-61-12 guided thermonuclear bunker buster. Not only can it penetrate 3 meters of solid earth without generating much fallout, it'll really piss off all the rock huggers. That said, if we're trying to keep our atomic footprint down to a bare minimum, I guess we could always seek out a true believer willing to pull a Major Kong and feed himself to the troll while strapped to a B-54 or Mod 2.
Hold on, don't let it load. What movie is that? We're back.
man-portable atomic demolition munition. Just a thought, with Operation Jingle
what?
Bells being a complete failure, Nora is called back to the Prime Minister's office for a thorough dressing down. However, the way she sees it, this was actually a step in the right direction.
We are on to something here, because we saw the bells had an effect.
You're fired!
In effect, for real, that's what you're going with. The dumbass bells were even less effective than the artillery strike, and at least with the guns, you wouldn't have had to put valuable military resources and personnel within arm's reach of this thing. PM should have canned her the moment she opened her mouth with that nonsense. Now, in addition to the fact that they withheld critical troll-related information from the people, they have to deal with a national embarrassment of having taken strategic advice from someone who stares at dust.
Oh, come on now. From Pizza Hut to Trolls, let's go.
Dusty old bones all day. However, despite falling out of favor with the Citadel Council, it seems Commander Shepard still commands the respect of her crew, with her faithful lapdog offering to give her a ride back to wherever. The two make their way through the mid-evacuation gridlock. All the while, Nora continues poring over her father's notes. Evidently, Tobias thought the key to all this was something called sending, which Lapdog immediately associates with the Lord Chamberlain of the Royal Palace, Rickard Sinding. Hey, you know, given your father's last words, I'd say that checks out. After all, what else could palace mean except the palace? Should probably have followed up on that before staking your reputation on Pavlov's air raid. Upon reaching the royal manor, the troll team nearly gets dome sliced by the guards. I get time's a factor and all, but it probably wasn't a good idea to go racing up to the front gate like you had a trunk full of wired up artillery shells. Fortunately, Sinding just so happens to recognize Nora purely off her resemblance to Tobias. Once inside, the old man spills immediately and takes them down to visit one of Norway's deepest, darkest secrets. I mean, literally, it's in a pitch black cave underneath the palace. Of course, given the nature of what that secret is, that's probably where it belongs. Brace for the exposition dump. So, it turns out Nora's dad was right about what happened to the trolls, and evidently, this is where the final blow is struck. According to Sinding, the Crusaders ambushed the Uglies and red wedding them down to a single pair of survivors, the Troll King and his last remaining son. However, it didn't stop there. The knights then used the youngling to lure his father into a trap they laid in the Dovra Mountains, burying them both alive beneath millions of tons of rock and stone. That is, until mankind came knocking once again. Cool story, bro, but how exactly does this help us out with the current situation? I mean, the least you could do is tell us how the knights went about racking up all these kills. Never mind, Nora would probably just blow it off in favor of strapping some comically oversized object to a vehicle too small to reasonably transport it. And by the looks of it, those gears are already turning.
We've seen him during the day, but have we seen him in direct sunlight?
How does that help us? We can't control the sun.
What is the biggest vehicle you have?
Ah, Jesus. So wait a minute. We are supposed to believe that at no point while this thing was walking around in broad daylight did it soak up enough rays to pull a Dracula. Give me a break. If Nora's pocket flashlight was enough to set their frickin' bones on fire, then whatever trace amounts coming through the clouds and or reflecting off of the landscape would be more than enough to light this mother up like a Roman candle. I'm not saying it was impossible. I'm just saying we should be open to the possibility that we're dealing with a daywalker here. After all, you sure as heck don't become the king of trolls off your good looks. You know what? Fine. I guess I should be grateful the plan doesn't involve singing it to sleep. Speaking of which, Nora's latest $1 million idea is to load a baby troll skull in the back of a ye-old Chevy pickup and use it to bait the Liver King into a crossfire of industrial UV lights. And just where is she gonna get these lights, you might ask?
Why
I don't
are
know.
you taking
That's
the
Garrus
skull?
Vakarian's problem. Seriously, dude, get on it. Birthday boy's gonna be here any second. Check that. Looks like he's already kicked in the front door. Just then, Lapdog receives troubling news from a friend in the MOD. With the main barricade having been breached, the PM has authorized the use of an experimental plot device to put the troll down for good, while also leveling most of Oslo. Hey, remember when they were gonna try this out in the middle of nowhere, but then you were like, no, let's use bells instead? Boy, that was fun. Realizing this won't give her nearly enough time to solve everything her way and no one else's, Nora tells Lapdog to have it rescheduled. So he asks his friend to just hack the F-35 carrying the missile and stop it from firing. How hard could that be?
Oh boy.
Seriously,
How hard can it be, right?
My god, she actually said it. Oh, and guess what? She does it immediately. Alright, okay. I'm making it sound easier than it was. It actually took her 3 tries. I'd say the Norwegian military needs to watch a few more mental outlaw videos, but I honestly don't know enough about cybersecurity to say whether something like this is plausible. I mean, she is a professional geek working from the inside. I don't know. Computer nerds, lend me your knowledge down in the comments section. With her ticking clock forestalled, Nora stomps on the gas to go wrangle herself a troll, and it doesn't take long before she's got one. Oof, nothing like the sight of your child's skull being lugged around like a used couch to light a fire under your ass. One thing's for sure, Captain Holmes and his men better be ready to light this sucker up like Snoop Dogg's basement. Otherwise, we'll probably be wishing that super missile came in right on time.
Status.
We're close!
Not yet. We need more time.
Bro, are you kidding me? Unless Four Eyes can hack the troll, we're getting there when we get there. Get a move on. Alright boys, we have 10 minutes until we're all violently stomped to death by a mythical creature. And as I've already explained, that's not enough time to ready the trap. So, let me go ahead and spend 2 minutes monologuing like Thomas J. Whitmore instead of actually taking care of our critically important part of the plan. Thanks a lot, Captain. Luckily, we're able to make up some time after losing the baby skull out the back of the truck. Whoa, why are you turning around? What, you think the 2 of you can deadlift 3 tons of bone by yourselves? Oh, great. Now the troll's making sad faces while staring introspectively at its own reflection. I mean, come on. You were literally just using the slaughtered remains of its offspring to lure it into a death trap. Don't tell me you're catching feelings now. Eventually, Nora manages to staunch her bleeding heart long enough to realize the feeling isn't mutual and whips the pickup around in a perfect 180. You know, just like she was taught in a paleontologist school. And by the looks of it, she's right on time. The defense minister himself finally caught on to the awesome hacker chick's shenanigans, and she was swiftly dealt with in the harshest manner known to the Norwegian military, being harshly told to stop and getting her laptop taken away. Now that the missile systems are back online, we only have a couple minutes max to reach the ambush point, and Chris's team still hasn't finished setting up the lights. I wonder why. With the finish line now in sight, Nora realizes they're going to have to lose some weight to have any hope of outrunning the troll, so she orders Lapdog to jettison himself away from the vehicle. But it's still not enough before Trollzilla can dish out the final coup de grace. One of the military vehicles just sort of honks its horn a few times, and he completely forgets she ever existed. Just then, Captain Holmes throws the switch, instantly engulfing the target in an aura of unspeakable torment. Only it's too late. The F-35 has already started its attack run. Nah, I'm just kidding. The pilot sees everyone before launching the strike, and the general calls it off, even though they were right about to level an entire city, wherein there would inevitably be people that didn't evacuate.
That would have been...
We're just dodging bullets left and right. Unfortunately, there's still one final threat we can't escape. Misplaced compassion.
No, he won't survive this.
Wasn't that the plan?
It's not right.
Holy shit. Just because it's ugly and bearded does not make it your father. I mean, we all saw what happened after the artillery strike. Someone, quick, shoot her in the back before her daddy issues get us all killed. Miraculously, Nora's unchecked flip-flopping does not immediately result in everyone being eaten alive. Instead, the Troll King appears to heed her desperate pleas for him to just return to the mountain. Except, there's one thing they're all forgetting. Time to say goodnight. Or should I say good morning? Which is what a normal hero would have said in a world where people haven't been brutally conditioned to despise their own kind. Oh, humans are the real monsters. God. And with the dawning of a new day, Norway is finally safe from its own folklore. Or is it? In the end, the troll finally got put in the dirt. Although, not without taking dozens of lives and causing God knows how many dollars in property damage. That said, had the Ministry of Defense actually bothered to launch anything more than a half-baked ambush involving only a tiny fraction of the firepower at their disposal, they probably could have pinned this thing down for a tanning session long before it ever reached the city limits. And for that reason, I think Troll was beaten. Moral of the story, don't put paleontologists in command of your military.
Better to watch than have explained. But anyway, folks, that is where we're going to end off today's video. I want you all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support the original creator and all they do. And I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.